Hey guys, Frosty Knives here, back with another book review. And I know it's been a little while since my last book review, but as you know, everything's a little topsy-turvy and upside-downsy, so I hope everybody, wherever you are, is staying safe, is staying inside, is washing your hands, and all that jazz. But today, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about another book review. And today, we are going to be taking a look at a book by an author that is not Stephen King. One of my second favorite authors from the 80s. Look, I'm starting to grow a beard over here. This is what I do in my quarantine times. I grows a beard, or as best as I can. So today we're going to be taking a look at a book that I finally just got my hands on before all of the shit hit the fan, and this is by Robert McCammon, and the book is Mine. Now, as you know, I am a big Stephen King fan, but if you were to ask me who is another big favorite author of mine from the 80s, it would be Robert McCammon. I have read virtually almost all of his stuff, early stuff from Val to They Thirst to Swan Song to Stinger to Usher's Passing to The Wolf's Hour, but I never got to read Mine. And so when this was given to me, you can see it was a very well-loved version given to me. When this was given to me, I jumped at the chance to read it because I love all of his stuff. So Mine, get the preliminaries out of the way. Mine came out in 1990. Let's look at the tasty. 1991. And the paperback, not counting the extra stuff at the end, the paperback clocks in at 487 pages. And I was on a roll. I started reading this, and I was going to get this review to you guys sooner, but then stuff happened, and everything got turned around, so I had to stop reading it for a little while. But then I went and finished it. And so now here is my book review. And this is a story about two women, Mary Terrell, whose nickname is Mary Terror, and Laura Claiborne. And Mary Terrell, Mary Terror, is an old. She used to be. She was in 1960s. She was part of a anti-establishment terrorist movement, I guess, called the Stormfront, where they got together a bunch of people led by a charismatic cult-like leader, and they wanted to overthrow the government, and they wanted to rebel against everything. This was the 60s, and this was acid, and this was all kinds of things going on. And it got to the point where they got very violent, and then there was some altercations with the police, and people were murdered, and then they broke up, and life went on. And so she decides that this is much later on in her life, after she's gotten out of it and everybody's gotten out of it, gone into hiding, assumed new identities and all that. And she gets a message in a magazine from what she suspects is her old cult leader, and to meet her somewhere. And so she answers that, and she gets this bright idea in her head that somehow it's the leader, right, of the cult trying to bring everybody back together, and she's a little bit crazy, a little psycho in the head, and her brilliant plan is that she's going to steal a baby, and she's going to claim it as her own, and she's going to take that baby and she's going to bring it across the country to the cult leader, and she's going to present it to him, and then he's going to fall in love with her like he was in love with her before, and this big whole delusional thing going on. So she steals, completely on a whim, Laura Claiborne's baby. No reason why it's her in particular, just because on a whim she manages to get into the hospital and she steals Laura's baby, and then off she goes with this baby to go find her ex-cult leader. And he's gonna be so impressed by her, and then Laura winds up going after her. So the whole story is two women going across the country, one of them trying to bring this baby to this guy, and the mother of the actual baby, Laura, going after to rescue her child. And what I like about Robert McCammon is the same thing that I like about Stephen King. His stuff is really easy to read, really well fleshed out. His characterization is really well done. I mean, when you see Mary Terror for the first time, in the very first chapter, you know something's off the rails with her, because she is she's so obsessed with having a baby that she's actually collecting baby dolls, and she's trying to pretend that they're really human, and then she pretends to give birth to them, and she tries to feed them and clothe them and change them, and when they don't work out, when they don't love her because they're baby dolls, she disposes of them, runs them over, or melts their faces on the stove, and then she has a little box in her closet where she keeps the babies, the dead babies, and then she tries again. So his characterizations have always been really well written. The novel goes at a nice, fast pace. It's really easy to read. It really makes a lot of sense. You follow these two ladies as they're going across the country. There is some violence in it. There's a lot of violent things that happen, but I don't think it's over-the-top violence. It's obviously, things that need to be done because she's trying to get her baby back, Laura is, and Mary's trying to stop her, and she's going to murder anybody who gets in the way of bringing her baby to the end. And I'm not going to spoil the end, although you can probably kind of maybe guess how it ends. And the ending is really good. A lot of people complain about Robert McCammon's covers. I mean, I don't know. I don't find that cover to be too bad, except the red on blue is a little jarring. And then you open it up, and there's a secret cover under there. But what I like about this book is what I like about all Robert McCammon's books. The characters are well developed. The dialogue is well written. The action is well written. The violence is there, but it needs to be there. It's not overdone. It's not over exaggerated. It's not there just for violence's sake. The story makes sense. The journey and everything that happens makes sense. So this was a really well done book, and I've always wanted to read it, and I'm glad I finally got to read it. I gave this a 5 out of 5 on Goodreads because I thought that it was really well written. It's not supernatural horror. It's just people horror. It's horrible. It's a human being doing horrible things to other human beings. So it's that kind of horror. Nothing supernatural about it at all. But you really feel bad for the woman whose baby was stolen, and you can feel her desperation, and you know that she's willing to do anything to get her child back. And in this book, she does a lot of things that a normal person would not do to get her child back. And you can watch Mary Terror devolve into her delusional fantasies as she starts going down this path, and she really just starts to go downhill really fast about the middle of the book towards the end, and you can just see her mental status deteriorating. And it's a really well done book. It's a neat idea. I thought it was well done, and I really like it. I did a couple of other Robert McCammon reviews on my channel. I believe I did The Night Boat, and I believe I did Bethany's Sin. And you can find them I may even leave some links to them in the description or down below. But they didn't really, maybe seem to do... these were a couple years ago, and they didn't really seem maybe to do a lot of traction at the time, so I didn't know if there was a lot of interest in Robert McCammon's books. But then I started hearing other people potentially, recommending, hey, could you do Swan Song? Or, hey, could you do this other story? So I got my hands on this, and I read it, and I wanted to review it. And so if you like it, and if you like Robert McCammon books, leave me a note. Tell me what you liked. If you like Robert McCammon book reviews, I think I have a few other books over there by Robert McCammon. I'm almost 100% positive I have Swan Song. And I'm almost 100% positive I have Stinger, which is the very first Robert McCammon book I ever read. I also think I have Usher's Passing, and I also think I have Wolf's Hour. And I have They Thirst. I have a lot of Robert McCammon. So if you, like that, I don't know if now is a good time to start reviewing things like Swan Song. I don't know if now is the right atmosphere to start reading about apocalyptic fiction and dystopian fiction with what's going on. But I do have a lot of other Robert McCammon books. So if you like Robert McCammon novels and you want to hear other Robert McCammon reviews, I would be happy to reread some of those books because I like a lot of them. And I remember really liking The Wolf's Hour because it was such a unique take on a werewolf novel. So that is my review of Robert R. McCammon's book. Mine. I gave it a 5 out of 5 on Goodreads. I highly recommend reading it. I highly recommend reading Robert McCammon in general. Now, I didn't read it. I've never read anything past... After Boy's Life, I guess he kind of went into hiatus for a while, and he stopped writing for a while. He had some issues with his publishers, and he took a break, and he stopped writing for a while, and then he came back. So a lot of his newer stuff, which I think is from Speak the Nightbird on, I haven't read all of that, so I'm really focused on Robert McCammon from Boy's Life and Gone South back up to his beginnings. That's the area of his work that I read and that I tend to focus on. And I really haven't read new Robert McCammon. So if you like that and you want me to do more book reviews on that, well, as you know, we got some time. We got some time in the world right now. We got some time to read. So I hope you enjoyed that video. Hope you enjoyed my book review of Robert McCammon. Hope you are staying safe and keeping yourself occupied. Now is a good time to read. If you have the time and you want to take your mind off what is going on out in the crazy world out there, I would recommend now is the time to read your backlog. Now is the time to take those books that you've always wanted to read, that pile that you've always had, you've always said, I will get to that at some point. I will get to those books at some point. I think now is that time to read, now is the point to read your backlog, because I really think that we need to take our minds off of things, and we need to get away from all of the craziness, even if only for a little bit. And so getting to that backlog and reading your favorite novels and reading the books you've always wanted to read, I think is a good and productive way to keep your mind active, to keep everything sort of out, and to just sort of, it's a good thing to keep your mind on, other than everything else. So, Robert McCammon with the beard. Yeah, I'm growing a beard. I don't know, man. I don't generally grow beards, and I generally can't, but I'm going to let my hair grow. I'm going to grow my beard, and I'm going to read some backlogs. And right now, I am working on reading some graphic novels. I've got some graphic novels over that I've wanted to read, and I'm just getting through them. As a matter of fact, I got one right here. This is the one I'm reading right now. I'm reading Wanted by Mark Miller, J.G. Jones, and Paul Mounts. I heard really good things about this, and I picked it up at a yard sale last summer, and so now is the time I'm going to start getting into some of my graphic novels and reading those. So I hope you enjoyed this book review, and let me know if you want more Robert McCammon, because I've got more, and I can read more. I've got the time. And so I hope you liked the review. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, like and subscribe, pass it around, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell everybody in the world. And until next time, I will see you in the next video.